Welcome back to Fishing with the 262. In today's episode, I want to talk about Livescope, hopefully for the last time for quite some time. But this video has no agenda. I want to be really clear about that. This is not pro Livescope. This is not anti Livescope. This video is intended just to kind of share my thoughts and some of my observations about Livescope after having run the unit on my own personal boat for one full season now. I had some experience with it, watching my buddies use it on their boats, running it on my buddies' boats a little bit here and there, but this is the first full season that I've actually had full unlimited access to Livescope, and I want to share my thoughts and some of my observations, and hopefully these thoughts can help you if you're on the fence. Maybe you're thinking about adding a Livescope, maybe you're not, maybe you don't care, but these are my takeaways from it. So I think there are some tremendous benefits from having Livescope, and it's not even necessarily about fishing or finding fish. It's about studying lure presentation. Livescope has been a tremendous tool, in my personal opinion, in studying lure movements under the water. If I'm snapping a jig, how far up off the bottom does that jig actually come? What's the fall rate of a jig? Another great way to use it is to watch your jerkbaits. I think it will open your eyes to some of the things that you think that you know about jerkbaits versus what actually goes on under the water. What do I mean about that? First and foremost, you will find suspending jerkbaits that don't in fact suspend at all. You will find that some of them just sink, some of them float, some of them do a pretty good job of suspending. And I know that there are some factors that go into that in terms of what the water temps are, what your line diameter is, things of that nature. But watching a jerkbait on Livescope will give you a real understanding of what that bait does under the water in terms of the way it suspends. The other thing you can learn about a jerkbait is, some movements that you might think were very subtle are in fact pulling that bait a greater distance than you would have ever imagined. You can learn what twitching a jerkbait on slack line versus tight line looks like, how different the action becomes, how far you're moving the bait. You can learn what that Vision 110 does on 8-pound line versus 12-pound line versus 16-pound line, how it runs differently in the water column. So I think there's some tremendous value to learning your tackle. Same thing can be said with a crankbait. You can watch a DT8 on your Livescope and see what the path of that bait is and how long it's actually 8 feet. You can run different diameter lines to see if maybe you can get that down 9.5 feet. You can run a heavier diameter line and see if you can float it a little bit higher. So I think from the studying of lure behavior, Livescope is just a tremendous tool, you guys. I think that's one of my favorite parts about it. The other thing that I really liked about Livescope is, even though I might not be using it to locate specific fish, I can find grass edges more efficiently. I've found, maybe some little rock piles, very small rock piles showed up on my Livescope that maybe I would have overlooked in the past because I would have just drove over them and not seen them on my down imaging or on my 2D if I wasn't paying attention at a particular moment in time. So there are some fish locating skills other than finding actual fish that are extremely beneficial. Finding bait balls and finding schools of fish are kind of obvious reasons to use Livescope, right? But there's some more subtle things that you can do with it. You might be able to stumble across an underwater brush pile that you didn't know about in the past because you hadn't driven over it or hadn't looked at it. Things of that nature. So I think Livescope is incredible when it comes to maybe efficiency and narrowing down water. So I think there's some benefit there from the Livescope. There are some things that I just absolutely didn't enjoy about the Livescope. The number one technique that people do with Livescope is ping a minnow. I found no joy in pinging a minnow, you guys. I just don't like to fish that way. I'm not saying it's a bad technique or that people that do it are wrong. It's just not for me. I'm a guy that spent my entire life up in the shallows. And when I say shallow, I'm talking 5 feet or less. It used to be to me that deep water was 10 to 15 feet. Livescope has opened up some more opportunities for me to become a more efficient drop shot angler out deep. I think it's been good for that. But in terms of pinging a minnow, that's not for me. I have no desire to do it. I think anybody can learn how to do it. With that said, you're going to just play with your settings until you get them dialed the way you like to see the screen. I would encourage anybody that wants to ping a minnow to spot lock on a very specific target and learn how to cast. Learn the 30-foot cast, a 50-foot cast, a 70-foot cast, a 90-foot cast, everything in between. Just set up and learn how to cast, and learn how your 1/8 ounce jig falls versus your 1/16 ounce jig versus your 3/8 ounce jig. Learn how it pendulums on a tight line versus falls on a slack line. There's some benefits to really wanting to commit to that technique. It's just not for me. Every time I would tell myself I was going to go do that, I would find myself doing this. Peeking over my shoulder at the bank, because that's where I like to fish. That's where I'm comfortable fishing. I think Livescope did a good job of pushing me out of my comfort zone at times, but I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because I am out there to enjoy my day, and there were days where I just wasn't enjoying the Livescope, and I would just turn it off, take the transducer out of the water, and go fish up shallow. That's what I like to do, and at the end of the day, I'm not out there to try to win tournaments that much anymore. I might try to jackpot a tournament here and there with my partner, but the days of me being a solo angler and trying to win a tournament are probably long behind me, because I do realize what the power of the Livescope actually is, and I'm not willing to put in the work to be able to compete like that. The other thing that I did not enjoy about my Livescope personally was the fact that I run a Tarova led me down the path of installing a pole-mounted transducer. I did not enjoy the pole-mount transducer for the most part. I found it decidedly inconvenient in a lot of different ways. There were days where I would have to cast around it. It changed the way that I had to land fish in my boat, because I had just another obstacle in my way when it came to landing those fish. These are minor inconveniences, you guys, and I get that, but at the end of the day, I'm out there to enjoy my fishing time. I'm not out there to be inconvenienced, and I did find the pole to be inconvenient a lot of the time. The biggest inconvenience might be on a windy day, because the mount that I have has an open top on the pole, and the wind would just rip over the top of that thing, and that sucker would whistle all day long and just drive me nuts. My buddy Jason was in the boat with me and got to hear the whistle firsthand, and I think he would agree with me that it is highly obnoxious. Now, the benefit to the pole mount might be on some of those windier days, if you want to spot lock on something specific and the boat 45's away from it, it's not a big deal, because you're on the pole mount, you turn your transducer, you change your body, and you cast to your spot, even though you're not going over the nose of the boat like you might have done in the past. So there is that is a big advantage, in my opinion, to having Livescope on a pole mount. But overall, I found the pole to be decidedly inconvenient, and it just is what it is. I'm not saying that it's good or it's bad. I just didn't enjoy it, and it's something that you should consider if you're thinking about doing a pole mount in your boat. Think long and hard about where you're going to mount it, what it's going to do to the way you fish, and things of that nature, because it is going to change some things for you, good, bad, or indifferent. So something to think about there. But overall, I don't regret buying a Livescope. I don't know that I'm thrilled with the purchase necessarily. Could I done something better with that $3,500 or whatever I spent on it? Maybe. I don't know. I'm really indifferent to it, you guys. I don't regret buying it, but I'm not super thrilled to have it either. I'm not even entirely convinced that I'm going to keep it on my boat next year. I might forego the Livescope and just take that pole completely off my boat and move that graph back to the console, so I have a mapping unit at the console of my boat. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. It seems kind of silly when I say that out loud, that I'm going to turn that into a secondary console unit, but I just didn't find myself using it a whole ton. I think probably I should give it another year, and as I fish shallower, I should learn how to run it in perspective mode, maybe, become more efficient that way with it, because that's not something I did at all this year. I didn't turn that transducer into perspective mode a single time, and I think that's something I'm going to have to take a hard look at next year, and then make a decision if it's a tool that I want to keep on the front of my boat or not. Those are just kind of my thoughts on it, you guys. I appreciate you guys sticking around and listening to me ramble about Livescope. But I hope some of the information that I shared with you can help somebody out there who's maybe on the fence about if or when they're going to buy a Livescope. My best advice is, if you're going to invest in a Livescope unit, make sure you're super committed to using it, because that's something that I struggled with a bunch this year. I wasn't as committed to using it probably as I should have been, because again, I chose enjoyment over results to a certain extent. So that's something to think about. But make sure, if you're going to go out and spend somewhere between $2,500 and $5,000, depending on what kind of setup you're going to run, that you're going to be committed to it, I think would be my best advice to you guys, because it is a big financial commitment. And if there are other things that you could do with the money and you're not sure that you're going to use it, maybe hold off for a little while and see what happens, because maybe get out there with your buddies that have it. And any of my buddies wanted to come out for a day on the water, I'd gladly give them the front of the boat and let them play with the Livescope all day long if it was going to help them make a better decision for their own personal rigs. So find a buddy that maybe would let you run the boat for a day or two as you guys fish together, so you can get a better firsthand feel for that Livescope unit, and if it's something that's going to benefit you. But there's a lot to take in, and there's a lot to consider before you make that financial commitment, I guess, is my bigger point. There's some pros, there's definitely some cons, and it really it's really going to depend on how you want to utilize the technology, and if you want to utilize the technology, and how you're going to compete. Because if you're going to compete, I'm still a firm believer you have to have it on the boat in this day and age. If your tournament trail allows it and you don't put it on your boat, you will find yourself at a disadvantage most of the time. There are times where you can go up shallow and find them and maybe catch a winning bag, but I think over the course of a 6 or 8 or 9 event season, if you fish a full season of tournaments like that, I think the majority of the time, if there's 9 tournaments on your trail, I would venture to guess a Livescoper is probably going to win 6 or 7 of those events. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation, you guys. So again, I hope it helps you guys out. I hope you guys found something beneficial here. We are done talking about Livescope for now. If anybody has any specific questions and wants to see maybe a video in the future about it, I would consider doing that. But at this point, I'd like to put Livescope to bed. But again, if somebody really wants some help with something and I can help them out, I'm going to do that for you. So drop me a comment below. Let me know what kind of content you're looking for. Do we want more gear reviews? Do we want to maybe add a GoPro to the boat next year and get some on the water footage? Do we want rod building videos? Do we want to make some jigs on the channel? I'm open to all the suggestions out there. So let me know what's going to keep you guys the most entertained, and we'll try to bring it for you. Tight lines, everybody. Catch you on the next one.